Alhamdulillah, Es-Selamu Alejkum Ju rahmatullah. Të nderuar përcjellës të emisionit SFIDA, sonte jemi në një emision më special ku kemi musafir 3 vajza apo 3 femra që kanë ardhur nga Amerika për të qenë prezent me organizatën NUN me refugjatët sirian. Ne bisedën me to do vazhdojmë në gjuhën angleze. Mirë, po kjo hyrje do të na shërbejë neve që ta fillojmë emisionin. Hi all, welcome to the called Challenger SFIDA in Albanian.
Thank you. Thank you.
First of all, you have to present yourself. What do you present here? Start with you.
Well, I'm just coming representing just a human, caring about other humans. I don't have an exact pinpoint goal, just I need to help. I can't stay home knowing that people are migrating, not eating well, not being well clothed, and just sit in my comfortable home. I came here to help the Syrians who could have easily been me.
Your name was?
My name is Wiam Kuba.
Kuba, okay. And you're from America?
Yes.
Okay. Next.
My name is Seher Haroon, and I am a physician in Omaha, Nebraska, in the USA as well. I started a nonprofit organization with the help of Steffi Jenkins here, and it's called Humanity United, and our website is humanityunitedinternational.org. And I feel so lucky in my life, alhamdulillah, with everything, that it was time to give back. And when I heard about this crisis, it struck a deep chord with me, because seeing mothers and their children fleeing for a better life, it made me definitely want to help in whatever way I could. I knew that I could offer medical care. I could also offer donations that were very needed, and so I came to do that.
My name is Steffi Jenkins, and I'm a former international attorney, and I'm a business owner. I'm also the chairman of Americans for Refugees in Crisis, ARC. It's a group of Americans that actually live all over the world. We started it specifically to target Americans to bring greater awareness to the issue in America, because a lot of people in America, when you say the refugee crisis, they don't even know what you're talking about. So our organization is an outreach organization to educate people. We also act as an umbrella organization so that individuals like Wiam or anyone can do fundraising in their local communities and still get donations that are tax deductible. Their donors can make the donations to us, and we pass through 100% of the donation to the charity or to the campaign or the effort that they request.
You are in a separate way. You are not together.
We're one team. So Steffi is American Refugee Council, and I fundraised to raise money for the same cause as she is, and Seher started her own organization, but we're all working together on this trip.
I'm an American lawyer, so I've actually helped many different charities get franchised under U.S. law so that they could raise money for the refugee crisis. So I helped Sahar.
And you come here together?
We flew separately, but we met all here together. We coordinated, we planned, we decided, what we were going to do, what we were going to buy. But just like ARC is an umbrella organization with Americans in Germany and Americans in France and Americans in America and all different countries, and we coordinate online. The social media coordination is key to this whole crisis. We also coordinated online. We didn't know at first, when we first decided to travel together, that we would actually come to Macedonia. I bought my ticket last summer, and I bought it only to Athens because I wanted to see where the biggest crisis point was at the time that I came. And as it got closer to the time of us coming, we realized that this is where some of the greatest need was. There are a lot of volunteers going to Lesbos and going to some of the islands, but not very many volunteers coming here. So that's why we decided to come here.
Okay. How do you hear about NUN exactly and the crisis of refugees here in Macedonia?
Well, should I address that? Yeah. So Kemal is very well known among the Western NGO, Western volunteers. He's called Kemal the Good. So he's sort of known as the leader of the camp. So I had contacted Kemal a long time ago, like 4 months ago or 5 months ago. So we'd coordinated. There were a couple issues of families that were stranded in Athens or other issues that he and I had coordinated on over the months. And so we contacted him and said, can you help us get into the camp? And then we were directed towards Kasrat also, who helped us come.
Before you coming here in my studio, you were at visit Algeria.
Yes.
How was there the situation?
I think it was a lot different than what I was expecting. So originally I planned to volunteer in Idomeni, and I bought my ticket to Thessaloniki thinking I would go there, but the camp in Macedonia is just not even 2 kilometers away, so that's where I ended up being, and I was really surprised at the organization there. Like there were many organizations, and their structure is such that it's easy for the refugees to go in and out. I was expecting it to be more difficult for them. So in that sense, I was very happy to see that type of progress. But again, I was very, very distraught when I saw some of the refugees and what their condition was as far as their clothes, their shoes. So that's the part that I was very surprised about. I knew I would see things like that, but I didn't know it was to the magnitude that it was.
And your perspective visiting Algeria?
I thought it was really interesting to see the big NGOs compared to NUN and what kind of visibility each had. As far as the big NGOs, the Red Cross, UNHCR, they were there, and they have a presence there. You can see, their daily functions. But when I looked at NUN, the big key difference that I noticed was the hands-on. The NUN was very, very hands-on and continues to be, and it's everything that I would want in an NGO, NUN is doing. For instance, if someone like me, if I bring funds from the US to donate, they're very careful about their funds. They're very, they make it stretch. For instance, they're not going to buy, the most expensive supplies. They're going to find something that's good quality, but also at a good cost. That's very important for me if I'm donating money. They're also going to find shortcuts to shipping. For instance, again, they're not going to spend half my donation on shipping and the other half on the supplies. They're going to put as much money towards the supplies as they can. So I was actually very impressed with NUN and all the work that they're doing. Their workers, they're tireless. I see them at the camp pretty much all the time. There's always someone there, it seems. That's more than I can say for a lot of the other NGOs. And as an American, I thought that was very surprising because I didn't realize that. As a physician, when I donated in the past to larger NGOs, I just assumed that my funding was going towards what I thought it was, like clothing, food, etc. But when you come here and you volunteer, you notice a different picture than what we see in the media. So I'm glad I came, and it was a good experience. It was definitely eye-opening, and I will definitely support smaller NGOs. More so, especially NUN in the future. So
we're going now to change a little the topic. The refugees crisis is a global problem, and can you tell us how your NGO is facing this problem?
Well, my NGO in particular does a lot of fundraising for many different campaigns. So, for instance, in December we had we got matched what we call a matching grant. So we had a donor who would match 100% of every donation that we brought in. And so for that particular campaign, we had a refugee group that was working in Lebanon. We had a group in the Balkans that were buying emergency ponchos for everyone, including they'll also be giving some to NUN. And then the third one was we donated to an organization on Lesbos. And then the donors could choose which organization they wanted their money to go to for the matching funds, but for the most part, people said you choose which organization. So we do make an effort to be widespread, not just focused on one particular area, because for us it is about the education of people in America and to understand that the problem is very widespread. I mean, it goes from Syria, Lebanon, Turkey, Jordan, you know, and it continues on. So, and there's need everywhere. So we try, for my organization, to be focused on many different areas because different situations are going to touch a donor differently. You know, for some people, a family living in a camp in Lebanon is what's going to touch them and going to make them want to give money. For other people, it could be the trek through the Balkans. For other people, it could be the drowning in the Aegean. So we're trying to cover many bases in order to, you know, our true focus is to get as much donation and as much awareness as we can in America. So we give a little bit of everything. It's a smorgasbord, so to speak.
I'm asking you personally, are you Muslim?
I am not a Muslim.
Why you are doing that? The refugee people...
I mean, it's not about religion. I mean, in fact, I personally think religion is not helpful. It ends up creating conflict. It's about people that are suffering. And for me, if somebody is suffering, I mean, I see this as a world crisis because the results of what these people are experiencing, the rest of the world is going to feel the results for many, many, many years in many different ways. I believe that we're all very interconnected. And so the experience in the camp for me is a little bit different in the sense that I have been very involved with large NGOs for many years in my work as a lawyer. But it's different when you're actually dealing with human beings and they're just like you or I, and the suffering and the fear. And I was speaking with a Syrian lawyer yesterday, and he wants to go to Vienna, and we were talking about his hopes and dreams, and I said, you know, you really need to practice your language. There was a young man with him who he wasn't friends with, but who spoke perfect English. I said, talk to him this whole trip. And, you know, he said to me, I try, but I haven't eaten. I've lost so much weight. It's so stressful that you know, he couldn't even think of the word. I said, your brain isn't functioning. I understand that. So those kinds of individual interactions have touched me more than seeing the mass amount of people going through, because I think that's what makes the whole crisis very personal and very real, and what makes me determined to continue helping.
You, Sahar, your NGO, how is facing this problem?
So, a great question. With our NGO, what Humanity United International's goal is to have other mission trips in the future. So, for instance, I have a lot of physician contacts, I have a lot of nurse contacts, I have a lot of healthcare professionals that I'm in contact with that are aware of the situation now through our efforts to show them, hey, you know what, if we can do something like this, so can you. And had multiple of my colleagues reach out to me and say, you know what, I want to help. Whenever the next trip is, let me know. I will go there. I can offer medical services. I can also donate funds. So my group, my goal for my organization is in the future to have further mission trips. So for now, we've made the contact with NUN, and our NGO works with theirs to make sure that we're helping them as opposed to trying to recreate the wheel. And so we're just kind of a supplemental team to take a little bit of the pressure off them. I know they volunteer here all of the time. You know, they've been here for 11 months. And while we focus on shorter missions, probably 2 weeks at the, 2 to 3 weeks, I would say. But while we focus on that, we can have a lot of positive impact. So our fundraising, bringing those donations here, buying goods locally, and also providing services. For instance, if you look at our team right now, we have a lawyer, we have a doctor, we have a chemical engineer, and we have a neurobiologist. Those are 4 very diverse talents. And so those talents can be utilized in many different ways with the refugee crisis. And so, for instance, the refugees that we encounter, some of them do need medical care. And yes, if there's any kind of medical problem, I can help with that. Or if there's any kind of legal problem, Lee can help with that. So, or chemical engineering, why she can help us figure out if these
why
tanks...
the propane tanks freeze.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there's a lot of different benefits that come from having such a diverse team. So my goal is in the future, I've already had an intensive care doctor I want to go, and also a nurse that wants to do missions in the future. And so these individuals, when they come together as a team, kind of like we did through social media, but when they come together, they can be an object of good, a team for the good of humanity, and use their talents to help. So that's my goal.
But I wanted to add one thing to that, because people on our social media have been saying, oh, you're doing such great work, to be honest with you, all we're really able to do is to support the long-term volunteers on the ground. Without the long-term volunteers, the refugees would be suffering tremendously. So our goal and our role is really to give the most support that we can to people who are here day in and day out, month in and month out, because we are only coming in for bits and pieces of time. So.
And when you came here with your husband?
Yeah, he's not feeling well right now.
Okay. What's your role here in facing the problem of religious crisis?
We primarily just wanted to help as we see fit. I know a lot of people are lacking supplies, so we came here. Our friends and family generously donated us large sums of money to come here and help. And I also know fluent Arabic, so I really wanted to meet refugees, listen to what their stories are, and just kind of give them a human interaction, from a perspective that's not another refugee. So I'm really, really glad that I was able to do that. I met a lot of beautiful people, alhamdulillah, and I hope to meet more in my next coming days. And Rashid is the same way. He's really eager to learn more about the refugees and try to help them as much as we can, physically and emotionally.
You're with origin from Pakistan?
No, I'm Tunisian.
Oh, Tunisia.
Yeah.
And do you have this feeling of refugees?
What do you mean?
Because you live in America.
Yeah.
Do you pause this, the refugees time?
Do I what?
Time of refugees. You have been refugee?
Oh, no. I've never been a refugee. My father moved to America when he was very young. He was on a full-ride scholarship. He went to school for free in America.
The scene we have seen in social media and TVs, the emotional views of children, and people all around the world are supporting this idea, this cause, with likes and shares. But are they helping with foundation or something else?
Well, I can tell you that we get a lot more likes than we do donations. I think people like to see that you're doing good work, and they like to see images, but some people are not connected enough to the cause to donate. It's very easy to like a picture, and it's very easy to donate $5, but I think what takes more effort is to actively help the situation. Like for example, calling your Congress member, asking them why they're not accepting refugees, physically coming here, or physically helping someone logistically get here. Those are things that are a lot harder, they're more time demanding, and people will do things that take a small bit of time. So on social media, it's easy to support a cause. All you have to do is like a page. But when you're talking about actions and donations, it becomes more time consuming, and I think less people are willing to do that.
And you, Sahar, do you have any support for you? Because you said you were with medical things. Does any doctor say to you, I'm ready to help, not with money, but with my experience?
Yes, I've actually had at least, so there's many people that have emailed me about this or contacted me through social media. I definitely have 3 doctors alone that want to go. That's not counting the ones that have emailed me about it, trying to get more information. And so there's also, like I was saying, nurse contacts that I have that would like to go. And there's definitely a desire there, but a lot of people just feel helpless. They see this on the news and they say, okay, well, how can I help? And actually, I was one of those people. I would see these horrible images, You saw the boy that washed up on the shore and he was drowned, this young boy, and he was old enough to be my child, And as a mother, that really strikes a chord with you, because this is our problem. This is a human problem. And so it's not always easy to take that first step because oftentimes you don't know what that first step is. But once you take that first step, it gets that much easier and you get that much closer to your goal. For instance, before I started Humanity United, I didn't know how to start an NGO, but our paths crossed, and now I have a nonprofit organization, and we're here doing good work with the refugees, with the population that I set out to help. And so a lot of the fear, I think, comes to the average person, which I was the average person. A lot of the fear is, where is my money going? Am I donating to the right cause? How can I make a difference? I want to help. I can't physically afford to fly to, wherever they need me to do this. But there's hope. There's always hope in that whatever, if you want to donate physically, like by going there, you can do that. If you want to donate money, you can do that. But that's why it's so important for me personally. When I came here and I saw the work that NUN was doing on the ground, I instantly knew that based on the work they're doing and based on the thought process they go through, based on their trial and error, based on all the tweaking they do, I realized that this is definitely an NGO I will 100% support in the future. I'm not going to give my money to large NGOs because when I look, there's a lot of overhead expense. And by overhead, that's just less money that gets to the refugees. And if I can do it, when I look at if we can do this as a united team, and if I can do something like this, just take the first step to get to where I'm actually helping and making a difference, I'm sure a lot of other people can do it as well. That's what Facebook has, my friends on Facebook have been saying. I've had a lot more people do friend requests trying to figure out, hey, I want to volunteer, how do I do what you're doing? A lot of people want to help, they just don't know how. Really, it's a lot of not knowing how to do it.
And I think the other problem is, this crisis is in the front yard of Europe, but in America it's far away. It's something that's removed. And so in some ways it seems like a bombardment of bad news, and some people just shut down. I know with my organization, I made a commitment that every day I would write a very personal dialogue of what I'm experiencing here. And so every day I have been doing that, and I have had so many people say, please don't stop writing, please keep writing, because the very personal experience helps them feel more connected to the crisis, makes them more motivated, brings them closer, brings them in to the crisis in a way that they can't just feel from the media, from the news and from whatever, that just has a more broad brush. I talk about the people that I meet, I talk about my own feelings, I talk about, what does pride mean? What does pride mean from a perspective of a volunteer? What does pride mean from the perspective of a refugee? To me, I've learned that they're very different things, and I write about those very personal things, and I think that also helps draw people in. I mean, people have written me since I've been here saying, I want to donate, and they've sent me $1,000, and then two people sent me $500. So we're talking about bigger donations from people who can feel what's happening here through the things that we write. I share their posts all the time on our ARC page and on my personal page, because it helps people identify better than just when they see the news.
I'm asking something political now. What do you say?
Political?
Yes.
Okay.
What do you say about the declare of Donald Trump to ban Muslims? Ban Muslims and refugees too.
I will tell you what me and many of my friends say, which is if Donald Trump became president, first of all, I would register as a Muslim so that he would deport me to some better place than a country that would elect him. But honestly, I would not live in America if he became president. He's a buffoon, he's a fool, he's an embarrassment to America, to the Republican Party. Nobody takes him seriously, and nobody, whether it's the Republicans, the Democrats, or whatever, would tolerate him being a president. I'm sorry, but I don't believe he would be alive if he got elected, to be honest with you. And it wouldn't be the liberals like me it would be the conservatives that got rid of him.
Do you have any problem with issues of refugees? I mean, with the states, the rules of states?
I work with refugee families in Pittsburgh, and they are some of the nicest people. They don't have much, but they're always trying to give back. So I think kind of the claim that these people might be harming us or we should be afraid of them is completely outrageous, because I've witnessed firsthand how beautiful these people are, and and how generous and kind they are. So I'm definitely not worried about my safety around them, and I think that anyone who is hostile towards them is ignorant, and they don't know anything about the refugees, and I don't think that they're willing to learn. I think that with education we could try to tell them how they really are, but some will be receptive to that and some will not. So I think we just need to keep trying to improve the image of refugees in America, and hopefully we'll be able to accept more once the kind of the stigma around it changes.
How much time you will stay here in Macedonia?
I will be here till January 10th, so I've been here 10 days.
And I will be here through the 9th. So.
And I'm here to the 15th.
We are to the end of this show. I want to ask for the last question. Tell what are your plans for the future about this refugees crisis? We hope to stop this refugees crisis, but if it goes, what are your plans to do?
Excuse me. So I personally am planning to go and share what I've learned in the refugee camp in multiple states. I'm currently interviewing right now for a full-time position, so I'm going to be traveling a lot, and I'm hoping to kind of organize a center that I could speak at. And I think that the Muslim community in America would be receptive towards this. I think I could probably speak at masjids, just kind of sharing some insight about what happens in the refugee camps and how people can get involved via donations. And also I really hope to come here in the future. We're thinking maybe in March, if we have time, we'll come here, even if it's just a week. I think we could definitely be put to good use. NUN has been great giving us work, keeping our hands busy, so I think that me and my husband are hoping to make another trip, and if not, we will definitely be sharing our stories and getting other people involved, you know, not just informing them, but making sure that they get involved.
I would agree with exactly that. I definitely plan on telling everyone I can about what I've experienced here, what the refugees are truly like. It's so interesting because Steffi hit it right on the head when she said, they're just like you and I. I mean, yesterday night we met this wonderful lawyer. He and Steffi were talking, and I remember taking a photo of that, just looking at the contrast between, you know, if there were two lawyers here, one's a refugee and one's not, how easily the tables could turn, how easily one of us could be a refugee. And I would hope that people, humans, you know, we're all human, I would hope that they would feel the same way and take a step back and look and realize we're all the same. We all have the same hopes and dreams. We want to have, you know, a decent life. We want our families to be safe, and we just want our basic needs met. And I definitely will go back home to Omaha, Nebraska, and talk about what I've seen here and bring more light to the issue of the refugees. I want everyone to know what they're going through. It's definitely something where, with more education, I believe the population can learn that they're not terrorists. They're just normal individuals like you and I.
So I also own a business, and as any of my customers know, I already talk to every customer who walks in the door about the refugees situation. My business is actually going to sponsor a family in one of the Lebanese refugee camps to get them out of the camp, to get them into an apartment, the kids in school, and hopefully the parents working again. The organization is also very committed to NUN, so we will continue fundraising for them. As people know, I talk about this all the time. I mean, I have been since the spring, so I will continue to do that. I'm hoping that with my first-hand experience on the ground when I come back, I live in a very liberal community. I live in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and it's where Harvard and all the universities are, and so they're very liberal thinkers there. So I'm hoping that I can get the community galvanized to really participate in this crisis and to sponsor other families, to work through NUN, to wherever the need is, you know, the most critical, to continue to do that. I mean, it's a commitment that I have.
Okay, thank you all of you. I'm honored to be my guest. It's the first time I make this show in English language, so it's a new experience for me.
Well, we're
Thank you
honored
so
to
much.
be here first as well. We're honored
Yes.
to be here.
You did an excellent
I
job.
will never forget you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Të ndëruar shikues, këtu është fundi i emisionit Sfida, ku folëm me këta 3 zonja për punën e refugjatëve dhe se si ata po punojnë. Shpresoj emisioni do të jetë së shpejti online. Po me mua ishin Listefi Gjengis, Sahar Harun and William Kuba. Shpresoj mbesim në mëshirën e Allahut. As-Selamu Alejkum.